And next we have Mike Angley. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
I remembered.
Not Angley.
And I'm still to suspect 4.
Thank you very much. Well, I apologize in advance if my presentation's a little choppy. The teleprompter got lost somewhere on the way. I think I last saw it in the White House. That was terrible. Yeah, that's the one that broke. You know, I was real excited when I told my wife that I was going to participate in the open mic night. And she cautioned me not to come up here and put in a shameless plug for my award-winning novel, Childfinder. So I said, okay, honey, I'll find a safe subject to talk about. And I can't think of a safer subject than window dressings. In fact, my wife's birthday is the end of the month, and I've decided that I'm going to replace all the mini blinds in our house with shades. And in fact, I brought a sample. I'd like to get your opinion. She doesn't know anything about this. That's about the only thing my publisher spent any money on for me. You know, earlier today I mentioned that I spent a lot of time in the Air Force running counterterrorism operations, and that's real serious and sobering kind of work, but there were some lighter moments that happened. I literally have a million stories, but there's one in particular I wanted to tell you about. I used to travel a lot throughout the Middle East and parts of North Africa, and on one of my journeys, I was in Cairo, Egypt, and I had to go there as a short time on the ground, about 4 or 5 days, and to do some coordination on an operation. And the night before I was to leave, we got a last-minute call from the embassy, and it turned out the Egyptian equivalent of the CIA director wanted to go have dinner. And I've seen Midnight Express, and I was a little concerned about, you know, what was really going on. So, you know, you can't say no to an opportunity like that. So we went out to dinner. He was a nice gentleman, spoke a little English, but of course he had an entourage, you know, bodyguards and interpreters, and so we had a really good time. Now, he gave me some gifts that night, and I no longer have them, and you'll understand why when I finish the story. But he gave me a couple of little ceramic scarabs, and if you don't know what a scarab is, since I don't have the actual object anymore, I made a little picture off the internet. It's a sand beetle, and it kind of looked like that, but of course the little replicas he gave me were like the size of a dime. And then the other thing he gave me was an ankh, and I didn't know this word, but I certainly knew what this thing looked like. You know, it's one of those crosses, and this was made of, I think it was made of brass, and it was about 3 or 4 inches long. And this thing was kind of thrown together at the last minute, and I could tell the gifts were. But, you know, he told me, he says, hey, these are going to bring you good luck. That's just our custom here in Egypt. I said, okay, you know, that's very nice. Well, the next morning I get to Cairo International Airport, and I think I'm fine, good to go, because I have paper tickets in my hand. That should mean something. I get up to the counter after going through a really long line, and the young lady, Egyptian girl, taps on her keyboard, and she looks at me and she says, Mr. Angley, we seem to have a problem. Now, I've been around long enough to know that no story with a happy ending begins with, we have a problem. Apparently, I was supposed to have called the airlines 24 hours in advance to confirm that I was still going to be on that flight, even though I had the tickets. And I said, look, you know, I have a pretty good sense of humor. You got to get me on that plane because my wife's birthday is coming up, and I need to be there for that. And she says, there's nothing I could do. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, maybe this will change your mind. So I reach in my pocket, and to this day I have no idea why I had these trinkets in my pocket, but I put the 2 scarabs on the counter, and she starts to giggle. She says, that's not going to do you any good. All right, okay, well now you're forcing me to use my secret weapon. So I reach in my pocket and I pull the ankh out, I put that on the counter, and she starts laughing. Well, just then, in walks the Egyptian CIA director with his entourage. He had come to the airport to say goodbye. And he comes up to me and he's, you know, give me a hug and kiss on the cheek and all that stuff. And he says, hey, is everything okay? Now, I didn't want to embarrass him because I knew that he would make a fuss if he knew there was a problem. So I kind of said, yeah, everything's okay. We're just, you know, we're kind of working out the issue here with my seat and all that. Well, I think he caught on that there was a problem, and what happened next I can only describe as biblical. The heavens parted, I think the Holy Ghost descended, because everybody started speaking in tongues, and I didn't understand any of it, but there was a lot of high temper, people shouting at each other, supervisors coming out from everywhere, and this poor young Egyptian girl is banging away on the keyboard, and all of a sudden she looks at me and she says, "Mr. Angley, I have good news for you. I found a seat. It's in first class." Boy, that's not cool. I didn't want to offend my host, and I really couldn't take a first class seat, but I couldn't offend the host who had arranged that, so I thanked him for his assistance, and he went on his merry way. He felt good, he had done something very nice. So standing behind me in line was an old Egyptian woman, and when I say old, I'm talking about, I think she and King Tut, had a little thing going on. So I picked up the ankh and I turned around and I handed it to or first of all I said to the young lady behind the counter, I said, "Superstition, huh?" So I handed it to the lady behind me, and then I gave the clerk at the counter the scarabs, and I said, I hope these bring you both good luck. Well, the woman behind me with the ankh had no idea what was going on. She didn't speak English. All I know is when we arrived in JFK, and we had clear customs and immigration at the baggage carousel, this woman came up to me and hugged me and kissed me for 10 minutes to thank me. I mean, it was just amazing that she had never been in first class, I guess, and that was just a big deal to her. So anyway, thanks very much. I appreciate your time.